an overview about BizFirst Observe. BizFirst Observe has got 7 modules altogether. Out of the 7 modules, when you operate the studio, Flow Studio, what you see there is one module. There's something called Observe Panel. The Observe Panel is all the information that is pumped into uh, the system using a online on direct server to client login. So Observe Panel, you can actually watch what's happening inside the system, agents live, right? It's a live watch. Now, Studio is Flow Studio. Flow Studio has got a live watch. Other studios will also have their own live watches. Uh, this is a live framework. So observe, we want to call it Observe Panel to Observe Live. Uh, and that's one product, right? Now, there are so many other products. We have to learn what they do, how they work, how they operate, how do you set it up, how do you watch, as a user experience for that. All those things we need to see. So first of all, let me open up the solution. Now, I am also opening it up. I designed it. I think Sura coded it, and now I need to find out how to open project. There's no open solution here. So, okay, this is a solution opened now, which has got service, infrastructure, domain, and databases. So in the domain, let's see, there are 3 tables: node execution step logs, agent execution logs, and node execution log. In the interface, there are 3 repositories. That means there are 3 database tables. Now, remember, this is a reusable framework, so you can add as many repositories as possible. This is, let's check the data web request. Let's check the repository pattern. Let's take one example of one node execution log. So this is every node that is executed. When a node is executed on a workflow, the node process execution ID, process element ID, all those information is inserted in this table, right? And we don't need this. This is that's not a real one. So what happens is we get the data using, you store the data into this whenever something happens. Now anybody can open this up and see the data and analyze it using our Observe Panel. So Observe Panel needs one tab for node execution log, right? Or we have to call it offline log or something like that. But that's a new feature that's not implemented yet, but we have everything ready to be implementing that. So that's domain infrastructure is very simple project. You have got the table names here, and let's see the name of the tables, right? These tables, I actually never got opportunity. OBS. This is the name of the table, and there is OBS underscore agent execution logs, OBS underscore node execution logs. Now let's look at the services. In the services class, there is methods, right? Get log ID, get by agent ID. So this must be the agent execution log, right? Node and agent is very similar. I'll explain that later. Now, how do we log information into this log recording, right? So this is a record agent async. This is the method that is being called to record insert a log, right? And now we come here and find who all are calling this. Find all references. Now, as you can see, only tests. That's the reason why this is not logging anything. Only test projects are logging into this. Our system is not logging into this. Now let's see whether anybody is logging into this. start execution, complete execution, record error, right? And let's see if this is being called by anybody. So what I'm talking about is second module, right? In the second module, this is also called by controller. So we have to add this everywhere, right? That's our goal. And how to do that is something that we need to see. The third method is step log, right? Step recording. Find all references. Again, this is test project. These are not called. Obviously, it's pretty easy to call this because we need to just add it one place because we have the system already in place. We just need to connect it. Now, can you assume what happens when you do this, right? Step log, you record step asynchronously. It will record, right? But in the other place, what you saw is different. Here, what you saw is start recording. You see, you say start execution, right? We are not actually recording this. We are creating here and we are inserting a record and keeping it right. At the end, we say complete execution. And in between here, right, after starting, you call these steps one by one. At the end, it will call the complete. That's the way it works. I'll explain how this works in detail. So when you do the observe panel, right, when you in the observe panel, I showed you the messages coming, right? The very beginning, start, and at the end, there is something called complete. At that time, we will hook that into those logs that you're seeing, the observe panel, into this. So information will be stored into this each and every time it will be stored into this database. So it's a very simple hook, which I'll explain how to do a bit later. So far, you understood the code and how it is structured, the concept you understood. Any questions so far after we completed these 3 modules? Anish?
No, sir.
No. So um, uh, UI tools, right? There are two. When you look at this, you have to look at 2 ways. Look into this 2 ways. A tool's responsibility, AI engine's responsibility is to put the information, uh, create all the logging. There are 6 types of logs we are providing. One is called business activity. So when you say start activity, right? I'll show you an example. Uh, did I? Form node executor, right? So at this moment, this executor runs. I think you understood from Anna how this executor runs. In the very beginning of the executor, we are creating a result manager. We are checking something, and at this point, we are saying log warning. Okay. Now, when it logs warning, it's log warning here. This is not needed for log warning. All taken care of by the system. When it logs warning, right? It if you go here, let's say I am going to just have a logger. Okay. So what happens here is you are adding logs into system. The log will be created on a file, right? there will be a file that you can open which has got logs. Very really enterprise. Oh, all the enterprise systems have got that system got logging. So you log pure text information or sometimes objects, and it will just go into a file system. Now we have a concept called sync. Basically, you can define the log system going into multiple places. For example, you can put the log into Elasticsearch, or you can put it into SQL Server. Wherever in the world you want, you can put that log. Okay, that's your choice. Tempo is one place you can put the logs into. So you don't define where you put the log here. You just log here. So the responsibility of a agent here is to log information, right? And it's warning, debug, information, and error. 4 types of logging would happen by this. So, so this is called logging. And when the logging type is equal to debug, and that will be done by calling this debug. In production, it will not happen. So when you log warning and information and error, those are business logging. When it is debug, it's IT logging, technical logging. That happens only in the development. So there are 4 types of logging. Then that you responsibility is to just log. And when you log in the web config, you enable where you want to log it, and you can put it in the event viewer too. Event, there is something called event viewer. Event viewer. So you can put it into event viewer. So your computer's event viewer will show the data like this. Okay, that's another way to. This is administrative events. There could be Windows events. This is the event application event. When you log something, you will find them in the application event. It will come. It's refreshing. So you got how the events. So you can decide where you want to put the event. You see, this is a restart manager event, Windows reporting event. All the events will be coming. So whatever we are logging here in this event will go into the event log. Event log can be decided by web config. In the web config, you say, hey, I want my event viewer. So when you say Serilog, this is Serilog events is a very popular event logger. It says, and I inside the Serilog, you say, here, write the events into this file. Okay. You can also tell here, hey, don't write to event log. You can tell this to log into SQL Server, which I'm going to show you right now. And when you here, what you're going to do is you say log, define log level. So this is information log level. There's no debug log level, right? So understand what this log level means will fix a lot of problems for you, right? If you don't, so when you configure this, you are telling Claude, sorry, telling our BizFirst AI, GPT, explain this to me like you would to a 10th grader. Okay, so read about this. I will probably share it. So it's a logging library. You enable it just by adding that. You will enable it. Then you see minimum level, right? School announcement, debug tiny details, good for developers, information. So when you put information here, you are not getting any debug logs. Okay, that's what it says. This line means record everything that is information or more serious. Warning is more serious, error is fatal is much, much more serious. So you want to put it debug in debugging mode when you're testing it locally, right? In a production environment, you don't put debug, but there are situations where you want to put legal debug. Okay. Now, what is this? Entity framework is very chatty. Without overrides, you may get a lot of things like this. So you are putting more details here like this, and this has to be not even warning. I need to see what you want to put here because this is security involved in the framework. Some of these things will expose the data. This tells where should I save the logs. Okay, so you understand this. One is writing, producing the log. After producing, it just keeps producing it and debug it in the output window or somewhere else, live stream, all those things. But at the end, you decide, hey, where do you want me to save the logs? So this is another thing. So in that system you explained, I explained, log into this system. So you can go to logs compact AP, you see all the logs happening. Okay, you want to see that? I'll show you. Consolidated. Where is logs? Logs, compact, detail. Oh, what is happening? It was supposed to be here, maybe somewhere else. You can check it out later. I have seen it many times. So you will see the data there, right, in this format. Only keep most recent 40 hours every log. So retain file count limit, right? So you can decide all those things about it. And this is called uh, local file system, right? Now there is another approach that people do. They connect this file into a system. So the system will read the file and put it into a database. Okay. They are called output. I forgot the name, but they are typically called forwarder. Forwarder, right? That's the term they use. What is log forwarder? Okay. So we have not gone through this yet completely. So putting it all together, see, you understood this now very well. So you got an idea about how logging works, how the enterprise logging works. Okay, log forwarder is like a mail carrier for your logs. Imagine the application is a school, students and all those things are logged into it, right? That's what it says. Without a log forwarder, see, remember this, any enterprise you login, go, this is highly important topic. So really try to learn this very well. Now you see that I put the application logs in this. The log forwarder writes the logs to the file, right? Like this. The forwarder continuously watches the log file. With a new line is added, immediately sends the central system. Elastic Stack, Splunk, Grafana Loki, Datadog, Azure Monitor, AWS CloudWatch. So we can actually create a cloud, install the forwarder, and just all we need to install the forwarder and point to the file system. It will send the data to wherever we want, right? Now, for each one, the forwarders are different. So that's what we want to see. Does the forwarder replace Serilog? No, they have different jobs. Serilog just create log messages. Log forwarder put this from the log file to somewhere else. The reason why we don't put the application itself to send the message directly to API call, because API call will take a lot of time, right? Just to log 100 logs, the API call will actually kill the server. So we always write to the log, and we never put it into a system. Now let's talk about open telemetry. I am using telemetry. Can you tell me how that works? Okay, so we reached. I showed you our how logging happens in our system, and I explained to you how the logging information is sent to a server using a log forwarder, right? So you learned about log forwarder. Now we are reading about one particular log forwarder called hotel collector. Okay, this is an example log forwarder. Now, log forwarder is an interview question. Think of it as sorting and shipping center for your application telemetry. And I'll talk about telemetry a little bit differently, because logs, it's not just about logs. Metrics, traces, all those things are also important. So I earlier explained to you there are 5 types of logs. Debug, error, debug, information, warning, error, and fatal, right? 5 types of logs. And what is metrics, right? So metrics is, and traces too, right? I want you to learn this, right? From a definition standpoint, right? What exactly? differences and explain. So easy to explain with the ChatGPT, because otherwise, I try to provide the definition, and if I make a mistake, you misunderstand. So, so if you see, there are logs which are witness statements, right? Matrix are like a car's dashboard gauges. Traces are like GPS route, right? So there are usage differences, use case differences. Means from a usage standpoint, different type of users need to look at it, and the solution it solves is different, but it also has got a implementation difference, right? That's what we need to see. So logs, what happened, right? We logged in and all this information is put into this. Metrics, you are providing CPU usage 72%. However, the difference here is the CPU usage 72% is not a textual data, it's a JSON data. So that means I can read the metric system and create graphs out of it, right? So that's why I was telling, when we provide metrics, those metrics are important, and every metric should have metric type and metric subtype, a metric category. All the metrics will be displayed on the UI based on this category and types, right? That will tell people. And for example, let's say CPU usage. So when I log metrics of CPU usage, I am not just logging one record. Every second I am logging record. You pick up the record every second. You are drawing it in a chart or a graph, right? So it's not a metrics, one metric. It's a series of metrics, but the metric series also needs to have a category, series category, right? Or a series name. And so you pick up the series name and pick up all those things. And I'll talk about events a bit later. But this is good enough. You see this CPU graph going up and down. Now, these are the metrics they are talking about, right? These are for system monitoring, server monitoring. This is the metric that we pick up from our Docker automation project and show. But that's not what BizFirst AI project does. BizFirst AI project has to do AI metrics, right? Our guardrails and things like that, right? And it's not about measuring CPU or anything, something else, which we'll talk about later. Traces. So they are saying it's hard to understand, right? The reason is, when you look at first, it's very easy to understand these things, right? But when you actually try to model it, design it, it becomes a bit difficult and confusing, right? The borderline is a little blur, right? So a trace is basically, again, compare it with your metrics. The metrics is a series, right? Trace is also series, but it's not giving the similar data. It gives a different data, right? So you imagine you have a trace of traces, trace of trace of traces. So in a hierarchical offer a model, you see a lot of things, and you drill down and go into the real problem. And when you drill down, drill down, drill down, drill down, at the end you see a red color, and that's where the problem is, right? So similarly, I'll give an example, show you an example, then you'll understand the difference between trace. And you see, we'll do some exercise on how trace should be done in BizFirst AI. Anyway, trace will just imagine you are a investigator, right? You are a private investigator, and there is a person missing in a forest. You have to go and find him. How do you trace him, right? So you go to a path, a private path, and you realize there is one cashew laying down. You look at it, got some hint. You go to the next level, find the hint. So similarly, it's a cascading path through which you're going. That's where you're tracing that person, right? The same analogy is applicable here too, right? So I hope you understand the difference between log, metrics, and trace. Now I explained the 5 logs, and there are metrics also, type of metrics, which I'll explain in the next session. Traces also, there are a few types of traces I will explain later. So this explains a high-level idea about tracing, right? Then there's application tracing, system tracing, security tracing, lot of things, and a lot of security things. You cannot trace everything. Data is important. Some data, your PII data, things like that cannot be traced. So it's a larger topic we'll discuss. Now, coming back. So you got an idea now, right? I think we went a little bit deeper than we should have. Now, let's talk about BizFirst observability. Now, as you can see, there is observability and environment tracing is enabled. OLTP endpoint is this. See, all these endpoints are available. Grafana endpoints are this. Now, what is this for, right? So this one actually, so I'm going to give this to Claude. Okay. In my system, I see this. Does this an online logging system? Is this bad choice for my system performance, app performance? Okay, because online we are saving it compared to the log forwarder. And we have both. Okay, we allow people to do whichever one they want, and there are reasons why we have this. So this is tracing. So what it's saying, enable tracing using OLTP. T for, I mean, this is for hotel, right? What is the hotel? I forgot. I mean, it's uh, amnesia. I can't remember. Very, very simple. So hotel is the tool that we use, right? So if you go here, OpenTelemetry. Sorry, OpenTelemetry. So if you enable it, what happens is default 4317 is the default port of telemetry. Now you have deployed telemetry in telemetry, right? Did you, Anish? Yeah. Yeah. So, but we need to be careful about it. It's in gRPC port, and I think from the API server that has to be opened into this telemetry port. Otherwise, it will not go there because this is two Docker services, right? It needs to have access, right? So we need to make sure that uh, it has access. Now, our application directly called telemetry collector and put the data into this. Correct? So this is a telemetry collector. So now I am asking one question. Okay. Simple rate. Sampling rate is 0, 1%, 100% of the requests are recorded. So we can actually reduce it to 0.5 or 0.1, things like that. 100,000 traces created. If you are 1.10% of the request will be traces. Sampling is one way to reduce overhead in production. So we need to enable sampling. So this is a documentation thing, right? We need to create a document on these things. And so every concept that I explained here, from the context of BizFirst AI, we need to produce documentation and send it to people. Okay, because people will want to say, I want to enable tracing sampling. How do I do that? So we need to tell them how to. Your application exposing metrics, right? Usually, if you visit your port, you see something like so. I need to understand this metrics, right? Metrics path enabled. So is this in my app or so where is okay? So we'll understand metrics a little bit later. Logging enabled. This is important. So low key logging is currently it's disabled. So this is, you need to enable this. Is this enabled? Okay. So the application is not sending log. Probably still writing certain log files based on the configuration you showed earlier. If you changed it to enable true, the log could be sent to this one, which is the default Loki server. Now it's Grafana. Anybody misunderstood? And Grafana. So Loki is basically Serilog file sends into a file. Loki will send into something else. Now I think there is a the BizFirst observability is a custom configuration node. And if you see the Loki, so this is my own configuration node, right? But if you see the Loki, this is not. This is standard. Serilog tool can understand where this is an expected place. But this configuration is not an expected place because it is BizFirst observability. So we need to actually see this observability and make sure that the data is going there. Okay. And also because it is here, it may be colliding with the Serilog. So we need to debug it and find it. Grafana. Many people misunderstood Grafana. Grafana does not store logs. It displays data. Okay. So Grafana is a reporting tool. Graffiti. What do you call graffiti? I forgot. I forgot the name, but there is a meaning to Grafana. I forgot. What does Grafana mean? So visualization, something to do with the visualization. What does Grafana mean? So, okay, Grafana. It's a visualization. Graph is visualization. Grafana, right? That's what it means. So now what our live view and Grafana means is we can send the information to Grafana directly through Loki, right? That's so let's read about Grafana once again. This is very useful, right? Anish, you are understanding a lot, right? Okay. So Grafana does not store logs, it displays data, right? Think of it as like Excel sheet, right? So basically, going forward, I will use the term visualizer, data visualizer. It's just an application, UI application like React. Let's say Grafana is built in React. How it will work like? It does not do anything. It just shows data, right? Now, let's see how it works. Application sends to Open Telemetry Collector. Now, Open Telemetry Collector is a forwarder kind, right? It's not a forwarder. The forwarder is a true forwarder actually reads from the source and sends it. In the Open Telemetry Collector, we have to send it to make a call to Open Telemetry Collector, and then it will send it, right? Now, I want to talk about that a little bit because there's a concern there on security, because as on performance, which we will fix soon. Now, Open Telemetry Collector will send to Loki. Loki, then Grafana displays what is inside Loki. So Grafana calls Loki and gets the data and show it. Grafana is simply the dashboard. If you were enabled Loki, the architecture usually looks like application calls telemetry collector, calls Loki, that calls Grafana. Instead of opening, you open Grafana in your search. Will it hurt performance? Usually very little if configured correctly. Let's compare. Writing a file only, very fast. Sending directly over the internet, application to network, logging service, slows because every log involves networking. But oil batches and retrace element, which minimizes the work your application has to do. Okay, so there is an optimization in the OLTP collector, right? However, ideally, we should actually run another project separate from our application, which will send OLTP, right? So that's another project for some other day. What about logging? Oh, so the batch size has to be So now my question is, if I have to switch, so instead of Loki, what are the other products I can configure? Okay. So Elasticsearch, Splunk, data, common options to compare. Okay. We can send it to all those things, all these places, right? Graylog and everywhere. How much work is involved? Work is involved to enable it. Because if Loki works the way we are expecting, it should automatically send it. Hmm? Okay, so the next one is what we do here is imagine I want to replace Loki with something else. So you see, right, within 1 hour, you can enable Elasticsearch, right? Cloud Monitor. Elasticsearch does not have these log indexes. So won't I have to create them? So we have Elasticsearch, right? So all we need to do is switch it to Elasticsearch, it will go. And once you switch to Elasticsearch, every software that opens up with Elasticsearch, right? Grafana works with the Loki very well, but Elasticsearch may work with something else. So every enterprise may have their own logging system. We should be able to so data stream is a different thing. We can talk about data stream. So now you understand how easy it is to create an Elasticsearch version by replacing Loki, right? And now let's talk about primitives, right? So we understood most of the things. Now we need to understand other tools like primitives and what else is there? Loki, primitives, Tempo. Yeah, I understand Grafana. Teach me. Okay. Now, this is where we are going to, since you already understand Grafana, the dashboard, Prometheus and Tempo is the same picture, right? Your observability stack is usually docs, metrics, and traces. And as you can see, traces go to tempo, trace tempo. Logs go to log key, logs. Metrics go to metrics. So remember this, okay? The thing, and graph visualization is Grafana. So data primitives, Loki, and Tempo are databases. Primitives also has some UI, which I will show you. Loki has a UI. Tempo has a UI. Tempo has a UI too, because they all need to have a browser. So they have browsers. Grafana is the dashboard. Beautiful. So what we have to do is so logs is very simple, but BizFirst has got our logs are different, right? So we need to see how our logs are going to be different. We should be able to search in our logs and find what we are looking for. What happened? Loki, what happened? How is behaving? Why did this request behave this way? Right? 3 questions answered. Now let's talk about Loki. How does metrics logged? I know debug.log will log debug. How do I do metrics? Okay. So let's see how it works. So this is how we are logging C#, which I showed you, right? In C#, how the logging is done. This works very well. No questions. Now, you can usually create a meter and record values. So how do you create the meter? So you create something like meter, create counter, right? This is a counter. This is not just counter. There are so many other options available. I'll show you. Counter is one way to create a meter. Then we have gauge, right? Observable gauge. Then we have when you say observable gauge, I think it will be keep moving it. Then later, right? So it's changing, right? Histogram. Create histogram, right? You know histogram in mathematics, right? Sorry, statistics. In your BizFirst AI system, metrics might look like workflow started, total 150, 1500, right? So now you got a better understanding of metrics, right? Together we get this data. Now we understand, find slow traces and logs to see the. I understand metrics. Tell me about traces. Okay. So so far what we have done is we learned the theory, right? How we install it and everything. The theory is learned. Now let's see trace versus log versus metrics, right? No, I want to know how to actually write it, right? I want to know syntax of C# logging trace. Okay. So the reason why I'm searching this is I want you to find the source code examples, right? So log trace, correct. Start activity and its activity source, which is new activity source, then set tag activity, then you do trace, correct. Set tag, this is how you trace set tag, which I'll show you in our code. Okay. Then start activity source. Add activity events. Okay. So the terms that you need to look for is activity. The terms that you need to look for. 1 second. Where is the set tag, right? Activity source. So we'll see the real examples in this first. Add event. Endpoint. How does it connect to? Okay. With tracing. You see this registration, when you register it, you register with the tracing, right? Which you will see. If tracing is disabled, it won't. And you can also add sources, right? Now, the thing is this, we cannot add sources like this. We have to add sources by the node. Every node has in our system, every node will have the ability to enable tracing. Okay, we will talk about it later. That's not responsibility, execution workflow. Okay, so now we understood that part. Any questions before I proceed into the next one? Too confusing? Is it too confusing? All good, right? Now, chapter 2, let's get into observability. So we saw the services. Now we need to get into the Loki primitives, these projects. Okay. So Sajara, if you can add this project into the solution, that would be much easier. These are admin. Okay. I don't know why. At the solution service level, I want to add a anyway. Let me open it here. So what does Grafana do? Let's see. Okay. I don't even know why we have this Grafana here. It's an external tool. We have nothing to do with it. So let me talk to. So SQL injection. We are injecting this into it, adding a Grafana health check registration. Okay, this project is not added into our product. That could be the reason why you're not getting it, right? But let me see what it is. It gets a client name, HTTP client name Grafana. This first observable. Oh, the configuration section is defined here. And it reads from this, right? Then, so the reason I'll tell you why this is not working. This is a configuration session. It reads from. This is not registered in the solution. Our current solution does not have this. That's why this is not working. This is a BizFirst AI agent, JSON, Grafana, panels, primitives. Okay, that's a pre-available dashboard. I think uh, we need to talk to Claude and understand what these are, right? Why these are used for, understand this project very well. So understand this, the dependency injection, this needs to be done to load Grafana. I don't think this project is even loaded. So ideally what we do is in the dependency injection, this is an add Grafana health check. This has to be imported into, this project has to be imported and this has to be loaded. That's then only it will work. So this has to, this is one piece that needs to be done. Tempo, similar fashion, primitives. Okay, so these things need to be part of it. Then it will work. Okay. Then Loki will actually save it in Grafana will be saved it in. I don't even know why Grafana is needed because, oh, Grafana maybe is health check only for the health check, right? Uh, Grafana health check, it gives a API endpoint maybe or a health check kind. Okay, just for the checking the health we are added here. We don't need Grafana here. I was wondering why do we need it? It's basically Grafana is a this is not needed for our project. This we check that. We check this. Grafana is not needed. Observability core. Let's see what this is. This is what probably Hotel does, right? This is how. This is the implementation for Hotel. So telemetry. So basically what this does is every time when a user logs in, a request comes in, it is a middleware that comes in between, take the data, logs into the system. Okay. It enriches the data and put it into the system. This is one piece. So you need to add this into a solution, put a breakpoint, give this project to Claude and ask Claude how exactly this works, tracing options, uh, uh, metrics options, low-key options. All options are here. This is hard-coded, must not hard-code anything here. These are fine, but this still should come from the database, sorry, the config files, error sampler, then sources, stream sources. So all kind of projects, right? Every project can have its own telemetry, right? The tags are also created here. Injection. Got it. So this is the injection using which we need to add the meter. You see the meters and everything. This is never called. That's the reason why this is not working. So add observability should be part of the game. That's the reason why it's not working. And let me see whether it is there, right? In this project, if I search. Add this first observability. It should come in the, it's not here, right? So if you go to this program, initialize web application builder. Here you see the builder initiating everything happens here, right? So at this point, is all tempo observability called. I don't see anywhere it is being called. Maybe here. It's called here. So you put a checkpoint here and see whether it is getting a ad tracing, everything is happening here, right? Check if it's all working properly. And if it is working, that's fine. This is where you need to do debugging. Clear, right? Any questions? Anish, any questions? Good enough to get started, right, Anish? Okay. Now let's talk about Redis. Very simple. This will be another video we can do tomorrow or some other time. The Redis, if you see, Redis, there are cache type, right? One is Redis, one is memory cache. Then there is a no cache. So I think most likely distributed cache node app cache registration connection string is null. It gives an error. Add app cache services in which you check if Redis cache is enabled. So check this here. Okay. Once you debug this, you will know cache is enabled. Okay. And I'll teach Redis a bit later because the scope of this work is observability, and we specifically talk about one item. So everything that we spoke today, Loki and all those things are part of the observability panel. So we spoke, sorry, live observe panel, and this is external observability panel. There are many other items within observe.bizfirstai.com, which we'll cover in next session. Okay. Thank you. You may stop the recording, Anish.